No. Hey guys, what is up? Can you see? Yeah, you can see my face. It's a bit dark. It is 10:12 a.m. It's just I haven't got. If you can see, like it's open. Alright. Now we really don't have anything exciting today.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help.
Yeah.
This sentence is grammatically correct, but it's...
I'm just thinking. No,
7-year-old Zach Bromley is lucky to be alive after being attacked by a cougar in his own backyard.
I thought, dear God, my kid could die in front of my eyes.
And his mom, Chelsea, is credited with saving him.
I see this animal on my child, and at first I didn't even know what it was. I realized it was a cougar, and I jumped on the animal. So I reach in and I try and I'm pulling. I'm trying to pull the jaws off his arm, and it's a very strong animal.
Zach suffered gashes on his head, neck, and arms. His mom snapped this photo of the cougar in the backyard of their home outside Vancouver, British Columbia. The 7-year-old has 4 siblings and actually told mom he was glad he was attacked.
He said to me, "Mom, you know, what if it was one of the younger kids?" He said, I'm one of the stronger kids.
The attack on Zach is reminding many of Travis Kaufman, the jogger who was attacked by a cougar in Colorado and strangled the beast with his bare hands to save himself.
It was going toward my face, so I threw up my hands to kind of block my face, at which point it grabbed onto my hand and wrist.
Zach's parents say he's recovering, and now mom has a new nickname.
She's the mama bear. I mean, I bowed my head because she did it all.
It's a shocking late-night raid. Police burned into a home with guns drawn. And when you hear who they were looking for, you'll probably be shocked because it wasn't a suspect in a drug ring or a dangerous fugitive. It was a 2-year-old boy whose doctor had called authorities.
A police raid in full assault gear. They barge in with shields up and guns drawn.
Come on with your hands up!
Is it a drug raid? A hunt for a dangerous fugitive? Nope, they're looking for a 2-year-old boy with a fever. We are not kidding. The heavy-handed raid has everyone scratching their heads.
Shocking video of a SWAT team raid.
How did it come to this? It started when the boy's mother, Sarah Beck, took him to the family physician in Chandler, Arizona with a 105-degree fever. The boy has never been vaccinated, and the doctor was concerned that he might have meningitis. So she told the mom to take him to the nearest emergency room. But shortly after leaving the doctor's office, Beck says her son started feeling better.
Acting normal, and I take his temperature, and his temperature was 102.
She decided not to take him to the ER. That's when the doctor called the Arizona Department of Child Safety and asked officials to check up on the boy. The parents allegedly refused.
As I'm on the phone with the police officer, I took his temperature. It was 100 degrees. There's no reason for me to give up my kid because he has a temperature of 100 degrees.
Nicholas Boca is the mom's attorney. Why let it come to this? Why not just let these people in and let them check on the kid?
Yeah.
It's the middle of the night. The children are sleeping. They've already had a day where they've had to go to the doctor. They wanted to rest.
DCS obtained a court order and called in the police. They took the boy and his 2 sisters away.
That's the type of stuff you see when there's like a hostage shootout, violent criminals, the cartel, not when a child has a fever.
Put your hands up!
Wow. The boy and his sisters are now staying with their grandparents.
What the hell? Man.
The young man who claimed he is Timothy Pitson
vanished without a trace in 2011, appears to be an imposter. DNA tests show he is actually a 24-year-old man from Ohio named Brian Michael Reaney. The FBI made the announcement late today saying DNA results have been returned, indicating the person in question is not Timothy Pitson. It's a bitter disappointment for Timothy Pitson's family, whose hopes were raised, then dashed. Timothy's aunt and grandmother spoke out today.
Kind of reliving everything that did happen and renewing the loss one more time. Yeah, hard.
The boy says he fled from two men who were holding him captive at a Red Roof Inn, eventually running across a bridge over the Ohio River, crossing state lines from Ohio into Kentucky, where he was found around 7:30 in the morning, wandering around a neighborhood where he told witnesses he had been on the run for 2 hours.
We had his child who said he ran away. He said he was kidnapped. Looks like back in 2011 he was kidnapped. The last name is Pitson. First name is Timothy. He's been gone for 7 years, so they're still talking to him.
He said that he was tired and he's been passed around and he's lost.
The boy was brought here to Cincinnati Children's Hospital and is being treated for what appear to be injuries from repeated beatings. Lending credibility to his story, the teen knew Timothy's middle name, James, and gave the accurate date of birth. Timothy's disappearance has baffled authorities for all these years. His mother picked him up at school in Aurora, Illinois on May 11, 2011. She claimed there was a family emergency. For the next 3 days, they were on what seemed like a little boy's dream road trip, visiting a water park resort and doing other fun things. Surveillance video shows them checking into a hotel in Wisconsin. Then, his mother committed suicide, leaving behind this heartbreaking note. Tim is somewhere safe with people who love him and never stopped looking for his missing son. In 2014, this age progression photo was released by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now, what seemed to be the breakthrough the family has waited for has ended in heartbreak. It is unclear what motivated the young man to claim he was Timothy.
This appears to be either a hoax or some person that's obviously lying about who he was.
Scary.
Texas death row.
Ooh.
On the surface, Art Whitaker seems intelligent and well-mannered, the son of an affluent family, so it seems inexplicable why this quiet young man awaits execution for an unthinkable crime.
You were raised by a loving family. Your mother loved you. Your mother loved you. Your brother loved you.
Yes, ma'am.
But you still decided to kill them.
I did.
A heinous crime committed on a whim, says prosecutor Fred Felchman.
With Bart Whitaker, there's no reason why. He just wanted to. And that's what's scary about it. He didn't need their money. He didn't need their love. They had never done anything to him. He just wanted to do it.
On the night of his graduation dinner, Bart charmed his family, playing the role of the gracious man of the hour. Or was he?
You're smiling in the photo. It's like a half hour before your family's going to get gunned down. What were you feeling?
I was about as close to numb as a human being can get, I think.
It was just after 8 when the Whitaker family leaves the restaurant, and Bart's secret murder plot is unfolding as he expects, just as he and his unwitting family arrive home. The Whitaker family suspects nothing, but as they enter the house, Bart hangs back.
I'm on the front porch. I hear a shot. Trisha saying, "Oh no," and then another loud noise. I didn't recognize it was a gunshot. I didn't really understand what was happening.
At the time, what were you feeling?
Nothing. Nothing at first, and then the gunshots went off, and shock. I walked up to the door. All the lights in the house were out, but the street light showed a single figure in a ski mask, maybe 6-8 feet away. My reaction was, I wonder which one of Kevin's goofball friends is playing a trick on us with the paintball gun. And I just stood there. But a moment later, I was shot too. Before I could call out to see if Bart was safe, there was a 4th shot from inside the house. My God, he shot all of us. Why?
As shots ring out, a neighbor calls 911.
Someone just shot another. Get over here.
I know I ran into the house. They say I ran past my dad, but I don't even remember seeing him. I do remember getting shot. I do vaguely remember making the 911 call.
Okay, where have you been shot at, sir? In my arm. Okay, Bart, who shot you? I don't know.
He went out the back door. I think I said that.
I pulled up about 3 houses down, and I pulled my weapon, and I started running through the yards to get to the Whitaker house.
First on the scene, Sugarland police officer Phil Prevost finds 19-year-old Kevin Whitaker dead where he fell, a single bullet in his chest. Tricia Whitaker also dies of a single gunshot wound soon after she's airlifted to the hospital. Incredibly, Kent Whitaker survives the attack, shot in the chest. Also wounded, Bart makes for a convincing fourth victim.
Where are you in the house right now? In the living room. Okay, do you see the officers, Bart? Yeah.
I asked, who are you? And he said, I'm Bart. He said, I live here. This is my house. So I figured, he belonged there. And I said, where's the bad guy?
Can you tell me anything about him at all, Bart? Did he sound black, white, Hispanic? No, you're black.
You had yourself shot as part of this plan. Was that your idea?
Yeah. It was to distance me from the guilt.
So you were trying to throw the cops off in your mind.
Yeah.
And it works like a charm.
The crime scene that I was investigating was a burglary gone bad where the victims were shot by the suspect and the suspect fled the scene.
Homicide Sergeant Marshall Slaught thinks he's looking for a burglar with bad timing.
We called out tracking dogs that night to attempt to track the shooter.
The dogs pick up a scent in the house and follow it outside to a dead end. Sergeant Slaught scans the crime scene for anything that might lead him to the killer. He finds drawers pulled open as if by a burglar, a gun safe pried open, 4 spent shell casings, and on the kitchen floor a 9mm handgun with 4 bullets missing from its clip. Investigators find no suspect fingerprints at the scene. They take the gun back to the crime lab for a closer look.
Initially, it was processed for latent fingerprints.
Investigator carefully tests the weapon and makes a hopeful discovery.
Partial latent fingerprint was developed on the upper part of the left side of the slide. It was a partial palm print, but that palm print did not have enough information in it. We couldn't identify it to any one particular person.
Tracking dogs identify the shooter's scent on the gun, but DNA analysis comes back negative. It seems the killer made a clean getaway.
It seemed like every piece of evidence that we collected, we ran into dead ends left and right.
Back to square one, Sergeant Slaught and his partner Detective Billy Baugh go to the hospital to interview the survivors, Kent and Bart Whitaker.
They were in separate rooms. So we first went to Kent Whitaker. Kent seemed somewhat at peace. He was obviously upset, but not crying. But he very much demanded that we catch who was responsible for committing this crime.
Lying in his hospital bed, Kent Whitaker is torn between emotional extremes. He wants revenge, but he also prays, asking God to give him the strength to do the impossible, forgive whoever was responsible.
And the moment that I did ask him to help me forgive, the strangest thing happened. This warm glow flowed over me just instantly. And I looked at my heart and I realized that desire for revenge had gone.
The thought that it might be his own son he would need to forgive was the furthest thing from Kent Whitaker's mind.
When he told me that he had forgiven the shooter, of course I didn't have the courage to say anything at the time, but how do you face that? I don't know how to face that. Hiding it all from everybody else was sort of like hiding it from myself also. There was also the fear of this place.
All of Sugarland seems stricken with grief and outrage. More than 1,000 mourners, including Kent and Bart, attend the funeral for Tricia and Kevin. At the Whitaker home, it's a media circus.
Golly!
With the investigation hitting dead ends, Bart has good reason to believe he'd gotten away with murder. But when we come back, the huge secret he couldn't allow his family to discover.
How could he be so stupid? I just read him the riot act about how if he had been telling the truth, he would not be a suspect.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch...
I gotta say it.
Death row is ominous, cold. It is a place you look at it from the outside and you know what happens inside.
In a race against time, 38-year-old Thomas Bart Whitaker's final days are ticking down on death row. Now he awaits a destiny that seems all but assured: execution by lethal injection. His father, Kent, spends these final days in a desperate for mercy, on this day savoring what may be his last visit with his son in prison.
As we were leaving, we put our hands up to the glass, and he puts his hand up on the other side, and we smile and say, "We love you," and then we left.
In Texas, a state that executes more prisoners than any other in America, Kent's is a fierce battle against the odds. His love tested by a terrible twist of fate. The son he is defending plotted the murders of his wife and his other son.
Police say a masked gunman shot the Whitaker family as they returned home from dinner. Mother Patricia and son Kevin were killed. Father Kent and son Bart were shot but survived.
I am the single greatest victim in this crime, and nobody has to try to convince me of how awful this crime was. The death penalty is the wrong penalty in this case.
The Whitaker story began here in Sugarland, Texas, where the sweet smell of success brought them everything they desired. It was the sugar industry that transformed this suburban backwater into one of the wealthiest towns in Texas.
Sugarland is an affluent suburb of Houston, all-American town, in which kids play in the street, in their front yard. It's a place where you want to raise your children.
Get back in line, you little nerd. Bart, are you...
The Whitaker family videos paint a warm picture of a loving, prosperous home.
Wave to Daddy on the table.
Tricia is a former teacher turned full-time mom.
Who's ready for Christmas?
Every moment seems picture perfect. Brothers, inseparable since birth.
He looked up to me and wanted to be me, and I thought that was so ironic because I wanted to be him.
They played with each other from the time that Kevin was old enough to do it up until the end. They did stuff together.
But who could imagine that inside that adorable
What the hell?
little boy was a ticking time bomb of rage.
What was your relationship like with your parents?
It was a good relationship.
We first met Bart Whitaker in 2009 when Bart spoke to former ABC News correspondent Mary Fulginiti about his strange and violent journey.
Your family tried to love you.
It was idyllic, yeah.
Hey, Bart, drive down the street to the stop sign for me.
Bart's bond with his father, Kent, was especially close. From the moment Bart learned to ride a two-wheeler, he and his father shared a passion for biking.
We tried to figure it out one time and ended up with about 15,000 miles that we've ridden together.
So how did the son of this loving family end up here on death row?
I was always an independent child, and I think somewhere along in there... Can we stop for a second?
What's bothering you right now?
No, just... It's all a lot thinking back on all those days. We had a pretty close family. In terms of what was going on inside of me, that was a little different. Never really fit in very well with anybody, to be honest with you.
I think everybody knows horrible things can happen, but you just don't expect it.
December 10th, 2003, a time for celebration at the Whitaker residence where Bart receives an extravagant college graduation gift, a Rolex watch.
Felt we were celebrating the upcoming graduation of our son. He was supposed to be going to graduate school, going into law enforcement.
We got ready for dinner and went to dinner.
Lots of laughter, yeah. We were happy and we were teasing each other. But then we did that whenever we were together.
As they celebrate his graduation, only Bart knows that an intruder has quietly entered their home. His deadly plot is about to begin.
I entered the house with the key and the alarm code.
As Kent snaps photos of his happy family, Bart poses with his favorite dessert, bread pudding, decorated to mark the occasion. Tricia smiling with her sons.
That was after we finished eating. I bet you I took that no more than 5 or 10 minutes before we left the restaurant, which was 5 minutes from our house.
Bart smiles, and yet he knows that if everything goes as planned, in less than 30 minutes, his brother, his mother, and his father will all be dead.
I don't really know a better term for how I was feeling other than I was in autopilot. I wasn't even aware of myself. We left the restaurant and drove back to the house.
And when we came back, Kevin led the way to the front door, and Tricia was behind him. And when he stepped in, that's when the shootings happened.
I went out to my car to get my cell phone, and I was walking back from the car when the first shot happened.
I had been in church with my family eating dinner, and had just gotten home, and my pager went off telling me to call the police department.
Sergeant Marshall Slott is a homicide detective. On any ordinary day, not much business for him in this town.
Sugar Land for years has been known as one of the safest cities in America. And for the police, this is not something the likes of which they'd ever seen before.
The dispatcher told me that 4 people had been shot. I actually thought she was joking with me. And I said, "You're kidding, right?" She said, "No. I need you to respond to Sugar Lakes. A family of 4 has been shot."
But why would a kid who had it all try to kill both of his parents?
Someone just shot our neighbors. Get over here.
Stay with us.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel and don't...
The new guilty plea in the Robert Mueller investigation. We have it all covered. A former top advisor to the Trump campaign, he stayed out during the transition. Rick Gates. He was very...
I'm gonna have to end it here, and I hope you enjoy.